Hey guys, this is Richard. I want to give my opinion on tariffs. I know tariffs is the big thing going on in the news for sure. Today's Sunday, and they are taking effect, I believe, Monday or Tuesday. So that means probably the stock market is going to react significantly. I know that a lot of times the stock market reacts on opinion and not necessarily on facts. And unfortunately, the stock market reacts always on short term decisions, never on long term. And that's always been a problem with the way we do business, that a lot of businesses are not able to invest more in research because they all care is about the profit of the quarter. So the CEO is, but do away with that. Let's talk about tariffs. I think the common opinion that's being said out there is that tariffs are going to be bad for Americans because you increase, let's say, a product that's coming in from Mexico or from China, and it's increased by 10%, and then the importer has to pay that. And then the importer will raise the price, and so to maintain their margin of profit, which they need to survive, and then the American people end up paying for it. I can tell you that's the common line that's being said out there by everybody. But what the byproduct of tariffs, which is what's more important than the initial reaction, is that, and let me tell you something before I tell you the byproduct, is that the reason why I'm certain about this byproduct or effect is because this exactly happened during COVID. When I am an importer, I buy a lot of imported materials from Asia, South America, some in Canada. So because I'm in the flooring business, so there's a lot of floors made in Canada, some floors made in South America, and most flooring is made in Asia, some from Europe, and there's a lot of floors made in the United States too. But for the most part, it's Asia. And why is it Asia? It's because it's cheaper. Why is it cheaper? It's because companies have found out that it's cheaper to make it there. But why? Why is it cheaper to make it there? It's because they can pay their labor so much less. They don't have to worry about environmental issues. They don't have to worry about medical issues or retirement programs. So they don't have to worry about the taxations that the government uses for our roads, for our services, for our hospitals. They don't have to worry about any of that. So their manufacturing costs are so much lower. So then they come to the United States, and you're like, okay, should I buy this floor at this one is $3, and this one is $4. This is American made, and this is made in China. And unfortunately, most of us pick the Chinese. Even though, in my experience, quality-wise, there's no doubt American floors are much higher quality than Asian floors. So the only reason we buy them is because of price. But once the COVID issues started happening, I don't know if a lot of you guys remember, but the containers, there was an issue with containers. And the container that usually costs an importer somewhere around $500 a container to bring it from Asia was costing $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 per container. So that cost of container is distributed among the product or the flooring that is in there, and the floor goes up in price. So what happened? Asian flooring price had to be raised because, let's say it wasn't the container, let's say it was Trump's tariffs. So Asian floors had to raise. But American companies did not have a tariff, or they did not have the container issue. So they stay at the same. And guess what happens when you raise the Asians? Now you're competing at the same price point. And when you're at the same price point, there is no doubt you're going to go with the American product because they're better, higher quality, and they're conscious made so much better environmentally too. So, and plus, every time you buy an American product, you're supporting an American manufacturer who's supporting thousands and thousands of jobs, American jobs. And I'm in the flooring industry and I sell to people, individuals, builders. And I've never had a Chinese man from China call me on the phone and say, I want to buy your flooring. No, Americans buy my flooring, or people living in America buy my flooring. So where do I want the jobs to stay? Where do I want in America, in the United States, is where we want the jobs to stay. So the byproduct of tariffs is that you give the American companies, manufacturers, what am I trying to say? You give them the fairness that they needed because they're being beaten unfairly. They're being beaten by companies who are cheating the system. They're cheating you. They're deciding, I don't want to pay you, American. You asked for too much. $18 an hour, $20 an hour, that's too much. I want to go into Asia and pay some kid $4, $2. That's what they're saying. And then they're selling the product here cheaper. And guess where the money's going? Over there. So sometimes, but we react and we go, well, I don't know about all that corporation stuff. What I know is that if I have an American wooden chair, let's say a chair for your dining room, an American wooden chair will cost you maybe $125. That's what that chair costs. It's what it costs to mill that material. Somebody had to grow that lumber, consciously grow that lumber with the standards of forestry in the United States. That means they have to plant 1 or 2 trees for every tree they cut. So they have to follow those rules. So they're maintaining this standard, and then they're shipping it to the manufacturer, the mill, who's making it, and that's what it costs to cut that wood, dry that wood, assemble that furniture, then put the fabric or varnish it, put the fabric, package it, distributor, then a distributor puts it in a beautiful showroom, sends it to you, and then they make the distributor and the manufacturer, they make 10 to 15%. This is a very tight budget, but they're able to pay all their people well, a living wage, an American living wage. So, but the $25 chair that comes from China, how is it possible? The one you see in Walmart, how is it possible? It can be done for $25. Because they're cheating everybody. They're cheating the system. They're cheating the employees. They're cheating everybody. But so my point is, you might say, well, I don't care what you say. I don't have money to buy the $125 chair, but I have money for the $25 chair. And that's exactly my point, that we are thinking of the wrong thing. It's not the cost of the chair. It's how much money you have. Yes, you don't have money for the $125 chair, but you know why? Because you keep buying the $25 chair. And that $25 chair has robbed all the good jobs, all the wages of Americans. So what does it care if that chair is $25 if you're broke and unemployed? Huh? That chair might as well cost $1 million because you're broke and unemployed. Because you were out there rah for Walmart. Okay, well, what happens if all these American companies start growing and producing lots of product? Because by the tariffs, it gives them the right level of competition. And now they start manufacturing, they start doing big plants, they start doing distribution centers, and they hire you, hire your family, hire your cousins, and all of you got lots of money. Isn't that a better America? To enjoy our work and make good money, or just to think how cheap you can buy stuff because all you got is pennies that the government gave you? First of all, most Americans that I know would be embarrassed about buying on aid from the government. Unfortunately, that's the reality for some people, but most Americans, they want to work. They want to earn their money. And you want to work, you need jobs. And where those jobs come from? Manufacturing, service jobs, and all that. And every time you buy that $25 chair, you're giving that job away. So that's such a short term of thinking. Another clear example is the oil industry. When you produce oil outside, they say, oh, you know what? We don't want to produce oil here because oil could be dirty, or produce coal because it could be dirty. So we're going to let Hugo Chavez in Venezuela produce oil, or Iran produce oil. Think about it for a second. Those two countries can give 3 craps about environment. They're producing oil 3, 4, 5 times dirtier than we are. And all those jobs, all those production jobs, where are they? They're over there. They're not here. So if we produce the oil, we produce natural gas, then all those manufacturing jobs are going to stay here. This is 2025. But I remember before the oil collapse, whatever it was. What else? About 2000? Was it 2000? No, that was the housing. But the Houston had tons and tons of growth, and buildings, office buildings, couldn't be built fast enough for big oil companies to lease them. These are creating tons of manufacturing jobs, then maintenance, support, care, cleaning, plumbers, electricians. Then you're staffing it with secretaries and engineers and all kinds of people. Tons of well-paying jobs by the oil industry. But what do? We ship those all out. So yes, we need to produce it here. We need to bring those jobs here. We need to bring that money here for the American people to have. That by doing tariffs, you are going to allow the American companies to compete fairly. It's basically what it is. And increase the income. And on top of that, you're closing the border. That means all those illegal people that were fighting and willing to do your job for less are no longer around. Guess what's going to happen? How does your salary go up? What can make your salary, your income go up? If the demand for workers is greater than the amount of workers. So all of a sudden you got all these American companies producing, manufacturers, distribution centers, and all that, and we have a limited workforce in the United States. All these companies are going to be fighting for you, fighting to give you a job. They're going to be fighting each other, see who can pay you more so you can come work for them. That's right. That will be the reality if we let this tariff plan go through, if we start thinking a little bit more long term, and we support Trump for this few months. Those guys, Mexico, seriously? Canada? They're just a spoiled child that's crying because you no longer let them eat ice cream at midnight. That's all it is. Ain't nothing wrong if you tell your kid, stop eating ice cream at midnight at 10 o'clock. So why will he throw a fit? If you had a kid, you never gave him ice cream at midnight, he wouldn't throw a fit. But now you've been giving him ice cream, letting him eat ice cream while he's playing his PlayStation till midnight every day. All of a sudden you take it away. Oh my God, throws a major fit. So this is what's happening right now. Those countries are just throwing a fit because they're being asked to be accountable for this incredible trade and accountability that they have had for so many years. Most people that have never been in other countries also don't realize how the American business gets screwed by the rest of the world. It's almost like everybody in the rest of the world, when it comes to business, knows that American companies are suckers. Why? Because the American government has always sold the American people. Because the other countries have people in Washington greasing them, paying them money, and they sell the American people. Instead of putting tariffs on those countries and supporting the American people so we can have more money, you don't have to tax people more. But no, they don't put tariffs on those countries. So then how do they generate money? Taxing. So basically, what is a tax? A tax is a tariff on the American people. So the question is, are we going to tariff you and me? Or are we going to tariff those countries that have been treating us poorly for so long? When I was raised in El Salvador, and when I was in El Salvador, all the cars were Japanese. There were Toyota, Nissan, Honda, and there are some Europeans. There was Mercedes, Audi. So there were no American cars. Why are there no American cars? In the 1970s, Americans produced some badass cars. So why weren't they? Well, it was simple. I asked my dad. My dad is American, and I asked him why there are no American cars, because you can see them in magazines and stuff. Why don't we have these cars here? So he did buy an American Dodge because he loved Dodge, and Dodge had the Charger, which is total badass looking car, and he bought it, imported it. That was his treat for so many years of hard work. So the reason there's no American cars is because El Salvador tariffed the United States 100%. That's right. That little bitty freaking country was screwing the United States. Yes. And you know how much tariffs United States tariffs El Salvador for all the coffee they brought in? 0. So who in the government is so stupid to agree to these deals? Well, nobody in the United States nobody's fighting for the people. But Salvador has surely some wealthy, rich guy up there in Washington going, here. Don't tariff me, dude. I'll give you an extra $100. Because politicians are so freaking corrupt nowadays. That's why we need to clean this shit out. But what's coming out is really the real story. Tariffs is what we need to do to increase the income of this country and reduce the tariffs on the people. But the bigger byproduct of that is going to be that American manufacturers will be allow a fair competition to compete. American manufacturers are awesome. The technology nowadays is incredible. And the quality of American manufacturers is indisputable, the best. So, but they can't compete. Because over here, they're stand by something rules, which are good rules, and they're required to pay salaries that are livable American salaries, which is good. And over there, they don't. So if you have an American company going to Mexico, like Ford, or going to El Salvador, like Heinz, all underwear that you wear by Heinz and socks are made in El Salvador, and t-shirts. Why? They got to ship all that. Why don't you make it here? Because it's cheaper to make it there. So what they're doing is saying, we want you, American people, to buy our stuff. But we are not going to employ you to make the stuff. Screw you, Americans. We're going to hire some Salvadorian, some Mexican, cheaper, slave labor. But then we're going to sell it to sucker Americans. That's what those companies are saying. So I just say, screw you, American companies that are doing that. And the true American companies that are staying here in the United States and they want to do the right thing are the ones that should do the right thing. And they are doing it. They're trying to compete as much as they can. And let this play, because all those countries, Canada, Mexico, all they're doing is crying like a spoiled little kid. It's just like when you take that candy away or that ice cream away from the spoiled kid, all he can do is cry, 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 and annoy you to such a level that you go, shit, okay, here, take your damn ice cream. That's what they're doing. But I get the feeling that Donald Trump is not that person that's going to say, okay, have your ice cream. No. It's going to stay strong, and we can outlast Mexico, Canada, and they're crying, and we can say no, and put this thing like it should be. Stop selling America, stop selling American people, bring the high jobs back into the United States, bring the income back into the United States, close that border. Now you're going to have all this work, high-paying jobs, and without the inflow of illegals that will do it for half your pay. So there you go. What's going to happen? Your salary is going to go way up. So what do you rather have? A $25 chair, but you only make $35,000 a year if you have a job. Or a $125 chair, but you're making $150,000 a year. Those are the two options. There's no other. I'd rather have the $125,000 job with a $125 chair. Okay? So there you go. That is based on my experience, not only from being raised in El Salvador, but also my experience as a businessman, buying floors from all over the world. And that's my take on what tariffs really become. Don't get fooled by all this crazy news saying, oh my God, inflation, everything is going to go crazy. It doesn't happen that way. You know what's going to that happen? Let's say a Chinese manufacturer is bringing bikes, e-bikes. Everybody's getting in with these e-bikes. And American manufacturers, they make e-bikes in the United States. Let's say the e-bike in the United States is $800. But the e-bike from China is, actually it costs them like $300 to make. But they don't sell it for $400. They go right below the American $700. So they're making 3-4 times the profit. And they're still selling it cheaper. So what do? We buy the Chinese e-bike. And that's what's happening right now. So if you increase the tariff, and those guys are going to maintain that margin, and their bike is going to go from $700 to $1,000. Now, think about this. American bike was $900. Chinese was $800 or $750. Now with the tariff, the Chinese bike becomes $1,000. How many Chinese bikes do you think they're going to sell? Because everybody's going to go for the American bike. They're better anyway. Plus, they'd rather spend $1,000 for an American bike than $1,100. So what is the tariffs going to do? It's going to force the Chinese to lower their margin. And they are going to end up eating the tariff. That's how it always goes. They want the market here. If their prices go up, then their products are exposed for the cheap, low quality that they are. Their products cannot compete in the high price market because the only reason we buy them is because they're cheap. So if they lower their prices, if they raise their prices through tariff, the sale of those prices is going to go down tremendously. Just like what happened in COVID in the containers. When the Chinese products went up in price and they were at the price of Americans, you know what happened? My American product sales were at that time probably 5%, 7%. When that happened, when Asian products went up because of container, American product sales went up to like 25, 30%. Yes. So what happened? American manufacturers got a definite boost of this. It was good for them. And Asian manufacturers got hurt. And they had to lower their price. And they had to eat it. They had to eat that extra container. Because they can't say, oh, we're going to charge you more because of the container. They tried to say that. But the American market responded and said, I don't care. That's your problem. I'm not going to pay more for your product than for an American manufactured product for that I can get it, for here. So why? So they had to eat it, and they eat it gladly because their margins are so incredibly high that they can eat it and still keep competing with the American product. So that's my take. Tell me what you think or not, and hope this was useful. Bye.